So today I have Matt Ainsley on from Trans Canada Trail. He's the director of corporate sponsorships and partnerships. And I first met Matt when I was doing work for a national food service chain. I really liked his approach to sustainability and the belief in making change through his work and doing something for the greater good and extending that through strategic partnerships. The partnership itself didn't come to fruition. It's really competitive out there in the charitable, not-for-profit landscape, and they ended up going with someone else. But that's not because Trans Canada didn't have merit. It's just exceptionally competitive out there, and we'll get into that today. But Matt seemed like a very insightful environmentalist, communications expert, and I thought that he would have a lot of insight to share with emerging brands, established brands, marketers, and just regular humans that want to go behind the scenes and find out what sustainability really means and what it's about. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Victoria, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
For those who don't know, even though they've probably walked on it, tell us what Trans Canada Trail is.
So the Trans Canada Trail is the world's longest multi-use recreational trail. Today, it is over 29,000 kilometers in Canada, from coast to coast to coast. We connect all major urban areas in Canada, Toronto, where I am here in Montreal, Vancouver, Halifax, all of the big urban areas, in addition to more than 15,000 communities across the country. So the Trans-Canada Trail is made up of urban sections, of rural sections, of backcountry hiking sections up in the Rockies, connects Indigenous communities. We have Indigenous trail partners. And lesser known, there are a bunch of water routes as part of the Trans-Canada Trail, sections of dedicated trail for short or long distance canoe and kayaking trips as well. So it's a large national trail with experiences available for everybody. In fact, 80% of Canadians live within 30 minutes of the Trans-Canada Trail. I'm here in Montreal and I'm maybe 2 kilometers from the Trans-Canada Trail. We use the trail all the time, probably every single day. And so I live what I work, I like to say.
Yeah, thanks for that. Really, if people don't know it, they've probably used the trail at some point in their lives. They might even be using it now, but they're not aware that it's actually part of this huge network that goes right across Canada. A gift for us Canadians to celebrate more, especially now when we're looking at traveling within our borders over the summer.
It was a really interesting poll done right before our last election. We know it was a divisive election. We know it was a bit of a strange election. And the poll showed that the number one thing that Canadians saw as contributing to their national identity, ahead of hockey, ahead of the Maple Leaf, is nature. In second place was our national parks. So we know that it's part of our Canadian national identity. No matter where in Canada you're from, no matter where on the political spectrum you may sit, folks love trails and folks love nature, and we're very proud of what we have here in Canada. And that's why we ask folks to support it, deliver our mission, and to deliver our work as the largest investor in trail infrastructure in Canada. Our work is really, really, really expensive, and it's getting more expensive because of inflation, of course, and because of the impact of climate change, and because we're increasing the scope of our work. We are the leading organization in Canada focused on accessible trail development, and since 2020 have invested more than $2 million in accessible trails across the country. Our work is needed more than ever as we see the increasing impacts of climate change. Each summer we see sections of trails that are flooded, that have destroyed bridges, or that are impacted by wildfires. And so we are increasingly focused on supporting those communities to rebuild trails and to study how trails should be rebuilt in a way that are more climate resilient and adapted to Canada's climate future. So we need supporters now more than ever. We're in an interesting moment right now. We're jumping straight into the deep end of geopolitics here, but we're in an interesting moment of national unity for Canada right now. And well before this unique national moment, the Trans-Canada Trail was a unifying factor across the country. I regularly am on Zoom calls or virtual meetings with someone in Vancouver or someone in Newfoundland. And very likely, both of us have been out on the Trans-Canada Trail that day, walk the dog, go for a bike ride, bike to work, things like that. It really brings folks together. To your question of, are we expecting more visitation this summer? Hard to say, but probably. We know that the Trans-Canada Trail is increasingly important for Canadians. We know that nature is increasingly important for Canadians. Each year, we as an organization undertake a survey with Léger to understand how and why Canadians use trails. We know from our most recent data, so from this winter, that 71% of Canadians are active trail users. That number is higher than it was 5 years ago, and that number is around where it was during the trail boom of the pandemic. So, as I'm sure you've possibly experienced yourself, or many of your listeners will have experienced, during the pandemic, we saw people flock to nature, forests, trails, parks to get outside, and that was a boom for trails. We as an organization were a little concerned that maybe when the pandemic receded, that would also recede, but it does not happen. In short, trail use is as high now as it was during the pandemic, and it makes sense. You know, once you fall in love with nature, once you fall in love with trails, once you experience the mental, physical health benefits of getting outside, you don't forget that. You continue to use trails. You continue to escape on trails to make the most of those benefits.
And there seems to be an emerging movement amongst millennials to want to unplug and get off their phones. What's the demographic? I mean, I'm sure it's everybody, but are you seeing any certain demographics visit the trail?
It's a very interesting question because this year in our Léger survey, we broke down age segments a little bit more than we have done in the past. And so that number was 71% of Canadians are active trail users. But if we look at the 18 to 35-year-old segment, 87% of young Canadians are active trail users. That gives us a lot of hope as a trail organization, as a nature organization, about the future of trail use in Canada and future trail lovers across the country.
Yeah.
To your point about technology, it's something that comes up a lot in our work. Technology is essential to a trail organization. We have a team of mappers. We have an IT team. We have a dedicated marketing team that puts out amazing digital campaigns that raise awareness of the trail, that get folks outside. So we like to say it's connect to disconnect. Use our tools to find that amazing trail experience. Be inspired by our large national campaigns to get outside and into nature.
Yeah, makes sense. So my next question is, there's a lot of nonprofits out there. There's something like 170,000 nonprofits, and about 5 to 7,000 of them are focused on environmental causes. It seems to be a very competitive space. How do you brand a trail? How do you brand nature to stand out?
I always find it so funny in my job to think about us versus other nonprofits, or us versus other charities, because it makes it seem
competitive.
Yeah. In reality, there is amazing nonprofits across this country who are doing incredible work to address the impacts of climate change, to connect people to nature, youth education programming. So it's always I always find it funny to think of it in such a way. And many of those organizations who are fellow environmental nonprofits are our partner. They are our allies. They're our friends in this. We're working with them on a day-to-day basis. But to your question about how do we stand out, Trans-Canada Trail is enormous. I say that both in terms of physically, the size of the Trans-Canada Trail, the fact that we're in Canada's backyard, but also us as an organization, as a charity, the impact of our work is enormous as well. In my role as Director of Corporate Partnerships, when I'm speaking to a potential partner, I could talk to them about mental health. I could talk to them about climate change. I could talk to them about our work with Indigenous communities. I can talk to them about wellness. And I don't have enough fingers to list all of our impact areas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about finding that key area of alignment, talking to a brand, talking to a company about what they care about, zooming in on that area and really connecting that brand to that area of our work. Taking the mental health example, we work with a number of companies across the country who care about health and wellness. And we have campaigns that are dedicated to getting Canadians outside to the benefit of their mental health. Our winter campaign, Blast to Oz, turn those winter blasts into Oz, get outside during winter for the benefit of your mental and physical health. We align companies who care about impact areas like that with those campaigns. And then our marketing team does an amazing job of blowing up that campaign, getting an unbelievable amount of impressions and clicks and eyeballs on those campaigns, because people care about trails. People care about trails. We're in people's backyard, and we're lucky that Canadians love trails and are very proud of trails and nature.
Well, I mean, you're not originally from Canada, right? Like, so comparing to other countries, it really is a gift to be able to have access to something like this. And, aside from the partnership side, like, you do need those funds to keep the trail operating. Like, how many people come through there? What kind of wear and tear? There's some that's sort of created by people, and then there's some that is created by environment. So maybe talk about why and how the funds are used and needed.
Yeah, I grew up in the UK, but I've lived in Canada for 15, 16 years now. And what draws me to my work and what draws me to Canada is nature and trails. I'm someone who, if I'm not at work on my computer, I'm outside on trails. It's, again, I live what I work. And when I was really new to Canada and exploring Canada, it's the space and the vastness of nature that really sucked me in, I guess. Because in the UK is a tiny country. UK is probably the size of Nova Scotia with 20 times the number of people. Everyone's squeezed in like this. We don't have the same vastness and scope. So your question was, can you please?
Yeah, where did it, like, I remember when we were talking about potentially partnering on behalf of the food service chain, you were saying, where the funds go, and some of the funds are to sort of, it's for maintenance, which is caused by environmental damage and warming, and then humans. Maybe talk about where a corporation's funds go and why they're needed.
So, as a national charity, we are the largest investor in trail infrastructure in Canada. Each year, we invest more than $8 million in trail projects across Canada. That involves building trails, maintaining trails, rebuilding bridges, stuff you may think about when you think about building trails. But increasingly, we are a program-based organization as well. Educational programming, climate programs to increase accessibility along the trail as well. This work is very, very, very expensive. Building trails is extremely expensive. And so we rely on the generosity of a wide variety of partners, supporters to make that happen. Individual donors are extremely important to our organization. We are lucky enough to receive support from the Government of Canada through Parks Canada to support our work delivering our mission, and corporate partners are essential to our work as well. When it comes to where do the funds go, we have a whole portfolio of streams of programs and granting programs to improve trails across the country. And so we are able to receive support from company partners either at the organization level, which means that supporting Trans-Canada Trail, believing in our mission, and then we are able to deliver those programs and deliver those trail projects, or tying corporate support to a theme, a program area, one corner of our work. We work with companies in both of those ways. One example I would share is our work with our long-standing partner, Manulife Financial. Manulife has supported our accessibility mapping program for 3 years now. That is a program where we pay people with the lived experience of disability to go out on the Trans-Canada Trail with a dedicated app. And during their time on the trail, they note specific points that are either accessible or inaccessible. You can imagine there is a bathroom on the side of the trail, but there's a step to get to it. That is an inaccessible point that we map.
Amazing.
This aligns closely with Manulife's impact agenda, so their values around accessibility, inclusion, and keeping Canada healthy. So that's sort of like the corner of our work where we celebrate Manulife and we bring them into the fold. Values aligned.
Yeah. And they're trying to add value to their consumers, to their existing audiences as well. It seems to me that mental health is a big one. I've read and I've heard that it could be extreme. Like going for a 10-minute walk in nature can replace your meds. That might be a little bit extreme, but I imagine that that's something that you get approached a lot on, like mental health and awareness. Seems like a pretty competitive space, from sort of online platforms that offer mental health services to pharmaceutical companies. Would that be one of the most popular, categories of partnerships that you're approached on?
I would say I'm not sure it's the most popular, but it's an increasingly important theme of our work and of our partnerships as well. It really rose in importance during the pandemic when folks were more trapped at home and more discovering those mental health benefits of getting outside.
Mm-hmm.
In that
Mm-hmm.
same Leger survey that we conducted, we found that 92% of trail users do so to improve their mental health and to relieve stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. We've all felt it. We've all had a stressful, bad day at work, stuck on a computer all day perhaps, and you've gone for a half an hour walk on a trail. You feel much, much better. It makes sense, right?
Absolutely. No, I know if I don't get out for a walk down to the beach every day, I'm a bit of a hot mess. So I get it. I want to get the kids out to the trail this summer for sure. The other thing I wanted to talk about you with is community. So, you talked about the massive undertaking of taking care of those trails, making sure that they're safe, dealing with environmental and human sort of wear and tear. You lean on community a lot. Like you have these community groups that are proud to be volunteers. How do you sort of corral that and without sounding too opportunistic? Like it sounds like something you can really leverage, and community is a big deal. Like people are always looking to build meaningful relationships and build community because that's really what fuels the brand and awareness. I mean, they're built-in ambassadors. Talk to me a little bit about that because I find that really special and authentic and engaging.
I think so too. It goes to the heart of our work as an organization and our partnership work. We are a partnership-based organization and we are a relationship-based organization. At the heart of that is the fact that Trans-Canada Trail as an organization we're not landowners. We don't own sections of the trail, but we work with more than 600 trail organizations across Canada that do. They own the section of trail. Many are very small grassroots trail organizations where folks are giving up their evening to answer emails and their Saturday to maintain the trails. That's community, and that's relationship building. We, as Canada's trail sector leader, we work to support those organizations across the country with funding, with knowledge, with best practices, with support at the federal government level. We say that our work is national in scope and local in execution, and that the community part really goes to the heart of that. The first Saturday in June is International Trails Day. Yeah, and we are, as Canada's trail sector leader, we grab the microphone on International Trails Day, and we host 13 events on urban and rural trails across the country. They are family-friendly, queues, trail cleanup, trail walk, fun runs, speaking from local MPs, stuff like that. It's super feel-good activities in the community. I'm attending one myself in Magog, Quebec, about an hour and a half from my home in Montreal. And from a partnerships perspective, there are great ways to connect our partners to those local activities. Columbia Sportswear, I'm wearing the shirt right now, is one of our long-standing partners, and they have supported our spring campaign to clean up trails after winter, which then leads to International Trails Day. So we connect trail volunteers, with the Columbia brand. We provide them with gear, we do social promo, we do marketing storytelling to really celebrate those trail volunteers, celebrate communities, and connect Columbia's brand to that target audience, which is their target customer.
Yeah, that's what struck me about the partnership as well. For a national brand, if wanting to connect to community, there's a community everywhere in every corner of Canada through this trail. And they seem pretty committed. So you have a good thing going there. They seem very passionate. And then there were other opportunities as well, depending on the level of sponsorship. You can have, a part of a section of the trails marked. You were really focused on doing something engaging, with communities and to get them out there and really connect. Because I think at the end of the day, you want to get people out on the trail and you want them to experience what you do when you get out there, right? Like you can tell that you have the passion for the role.
We love to bring our partnerships to life. We bring them to life digitally, of course, but most of all, we want to see our partners out on the trail itself. We want them to get their hands dirty with the trail cleanup. We want them to be meeting volunteers. We want them to be logging kilometers through one of our activity campaigns. We want to get them outside and we want to see them. The fact that we are a national organization, the fact that Trans-Canada Trail is across the country in Canada's backyard, means that for large national brands, Columbia, Toyota Canada, the Trans-Canada Trail is where they are, and it's where their customers are too. So In the example of Toyota Canada, who are a national trail partner, they support our environmental programs. Last month, we got employees from Toyota Canada in 5 cities across Canada out onto the trail for an afternoon for a trail cleanup activity. So that's quite unique in terms of what we can offer to a brand partner. Employees at multiple locations, all working towards the same cause, all on the same trail at the same time. It makes for great marketing storytelling, it's engaging, it's super fun, and it allows us to track metrics like the amount of trash collected in Calgary versus Halifax, and then overall across Canada.
Right. And they can compete against each other in a friendly way.
Yeah.
Another thing about the trail is that its own multifaceted, multi-platform agency, right? Like you do the direct to consumer, you do the socials, you have your own, you have your shared. You have your PR. There's so much that you guys bring. And I think like powered up with a brand who might not be there yet could really be an opportunity for them. I'm sure that these national or international brands that are in Canada, they are set up to go, but two, it could really, where there's the alignment, it's a real opportunity to connect with people and raise awareness because you have great followings and loyal followings. So I think it's a strategic partnership as much as it's a meaningful one. The other thing I wanted to ask you is you've worked in the environmental or sustainability sector for a long time. That's made up a large part of your career. So, like you said, and I'm just wondering because there's a lot of greenwashing going on out there and there's so much competition for, charitable dollars. Like you must see things out there where you're like, oh my gosh, these guys really aren't what they say they are. What are your thoughts on that? And how can a potential like brand looking for a partnership or how can a consumer tell if something is authentic? There's just so much noise out there that even though the charities and the brands that are doing right might get muted because people are, they're skeptical.
I think we can all see an authentic campaign, and I think we can all see an inauthentic campaign. Marketing campaigns, they wear themselves on the sleeves, and if you see something that feels like greenwashing, it means that a lot of people are seeing it as greenwashing too. We work hard with our partners to tell authentic stories, meaningful partnerships that are value-aligned partnerships. So again, back to the Manulife example, their impact agenda, their community investment strategy is aligned with health, it's aligned with inclusion, it's aligned with nature. That's what we do. That's a meaningful story. And so we work to connect with our partners and bring those partnerships to life in a way that is brand aligned, it's value aligned, and telling stories to our audience that they care about and that they can see the impact of as well.
I was just curious too, like how important is to our environment? Well, there's trees there's waterways, it cleans the air. I don't know if there's a way to quantify that.
Yeah, we do try to quantify that actually, and the exact figure is escaping me, but a couple of years ago we undertook a large national level study to understand the economic, social, and environmental impact of the Trans-Canada Trail, capture the value of those, what's known as ecosystem services, so sort of like the positive returns of nature back to the economy. It's a large number.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's enormous. But we have a program internally to study the impact of climate change on trails and to then develop standards, best practices, to build trails to a standard that can withstand the impact of climate change across Canada. You can imagine the impact of flooding, you can imagine the impact of wildfires are destructive to local communities. We need to build trails in a way that are climate smart, as we call them. That's
interesting.
Resistant to those future impacts of climate change and also positively feed back to the natural environment so that they benefit the natural environment as well.
Do you have any projections on sort of how things, sort of environmental catastrophes or extreme are going to affect the trail? Like, is that a concern?
We're working on it. It's something we're working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
In the past few years, we've seen increasing destruction to the Trans-Canada Trail, to trails across Canada, as a result of climate-related weather disasters. So extreme downpours that cause flooding and wildfires. In response, we launched a program called the Climate Impact Emergency Relief Fund, which provides funding to trail organizations across Canada to quickly reopen trails following one of those disasters. You could imagine near my home, Le Petit Train du Nord is north of Montreal, big tourist destination, important for local economy. Last year, a section washed out after a flood. It breaks the trail in the middle of the busy summer season, and we provide quick funding to get it back open and reconnect the trail and allow those communities to continue to benefit from the tourism dollars and the economic impact, things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's
Back to a question that you asked earlier.
Sure.
You asked about greenwashing campaigns and authentic marketing campaigns with environment. We work with an organization called 1% for the Planet.
Oh, yeah.
1% for the Planet it's a nonprofit, they're US based. They are a bit of a certification services for environmental charities. So if folks in your audience haven't heard about 1% for the Planet, you'll now start noticing the logo everywhere. Maybe like your favorite drink, back of the can, has 1% for the Planet.
Mm-hmm.
In short, it's a certification that says businesses commit to giving around 1% of their annual profits to environmental charities. And we as an environmental charity are registered as a 1% for the Planet partner. It means that we've been audited. It means that we've been reviewed. It means that our impact is certified. And so it's a great way for companies to connect with environmental organizations and be matched together. So we love working with 1% for the Planet. It cuts out a lot of the legwork, and it's a great way to connect with smaller businesses as well. There was received requests from small businesses across Canada about 1% for the Planet, folks that we had no contact with before and folks who we didn't even know were along the Trans-Canada Trail. So it's a great way to connect with businesses for that authentic piece.
You do partnerships at the hyper-local level. They could just be focused on the immediate community versus national campaign. It's not like you have to be a billion-dollar brand to partner with Trans-Canada Trail.
Absolutely. Through 1% for the Planet last year, we received a donation from a small optometrist in Trail, BC. The owners of the optometry clinic were just trail lovers. They are folks who love to get outside, they love nature, and throughout the year they support a different environmental charity through 1% for the Planet each month. And we were a beneficiary of that. From family-owned optometry clinic near the trail all the way up to Royal Bank of Canada, Toyota Canada, the big players. We have partnership opportunities at all those levels and work to tell meaningful stories around those partnerships at each level.
Yeah, it's just the competition strikes me as somebody who's been in PR and comms for a long time. Like I always see the data, consumers are more apt to purchase from brands that, have a sustainability or program in place. So I think there's a lot of opportunistic organizations out there wrangling for those dollars. So I think, knowing about something like Trans-Canada Trail and that it's accessible, whether you're big or small, to do a partnership that really means a lot to Canadians is important to get the word out about that. Matt, can you tell us more about your mission and vision, values?
So it's important to distinguish between the Trans-Canada Trail, which is the physical asset, and Trans-Canada Trail as an organization. So the Trans-Canada Trail is the longest multi-use recreational trail in the world, 9,000 kilometers from coast to coast to coast, connects 3 oceans, and we connect 15,000 communities across Canada. As an organization, Trans-Canada Trail, we are a national charity. We've been around for 30 years and registered with the CRA. And our role is to support, steward, and champion Canada's national trail system. We provide funding, support, expertise, and training to groups across Canada. And we are the largest investor in trail infrastructure in Canada.
We talk about purpose-driven brands, purpose-led brands. And it seems to me that, it's always been an important cause to support the Trans-Canada from environmental, from a mental health, from community building perspective.
Many folks don't know that Trans-Canada Trail is a national charity, and that means that we rely on the generosity of individuals and companies to deliver our mission and to deliver our work as the largest investor in trail infrastructure in Canada. Our work is really, really, really expensive, and it's getting more expensive because of inflation, of course, and because of the impact of climate change, and because we're increasing the scope of our work. We are the leading organization in Canada focused on accessible trail development, and since 2020 have invested more than $2 million in accessible trails across the country. Our work is needed now more than ever as we see the increasing impacts of climate change. Each summer, we see sections of trails that are flooded, that have destroyed bridges, or that are impacted by wildfires. And so we are increasingly focused on supporting those communities to rebuild trails and to study how trails should be rebuilt in a way that are more climate resilient and adapted to Canada's climate future. So we need supporters now more than ever. And we think that Canadians need trails now more than ever.
Do you have any tips if somebody wants to get out on the trail this summer or volunteer?
I would say do it today. Do it today. Like maybe you're out for a run right now and you're listening to this podcast, so good on you. And if you're not, if you're behind your computer listening to it, get out on the trail as soon as you can. We have an interactive map on our website. We explore the trail section where you'll be able to find local sections of the Trans-Canada Trail near you. Everything from the Martin Goodman Trail in downtown Toronto, that's part of the Trans-Canada Trail.
Wow.
Yeah, all the way up to sort of like the East Coast Trail in Atlantic Canada. We have experiences for everybody, and there's something for everybody on the Trans-Canada Trail.
So can I take my canoe out there? And you said that there's access to waterways from the trail?
That's right, yep. The Athabasca Landing Trail, for example, which is north of Edmonton, is a super long water route. Same with the section that connects Vancouver to Squamish, BC, is a water route. We have water routes, land routes across the country.
Any other fun facts for the trail?
Fun facts. Yes, I have one fun fact. The Trans-Canada Trail was started by two gentlemen. One was a Quebecer and one was an Albertan. So I think that's particularly interesting now at our time of national unity to think of those two guys coming together in the 90s as well.
Oh, wow. That's great. Coming together for the greater good and putting political beliefs aside is especially in our own borders, not just outside of them. Let's be real. One last question. I might think it's silly. Like if it's a rainy day and I want to go out to the trail, I'm going to be worried about getting wet. Of course, I can bring a rain jacket, but is there anywhere that I can run for cover?
Yeah. There's many shelters, there's many rest areas, all of which you can discover on our Explore the Map section on our website. The Trans-Canada Trail there's unlimited number of small businesses along the Trans-Canada Trail where you can get out of the rain and have a beer or have lunch or discover a local community. So we encourage folks to be out on the trail, but then get into those local communities as well and spend those tourism dollars in local areas.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Matt.